Hey guys, and welcome back to Ultra Game World. And today we are looking at the Aerocool Slipt PC case. Now, this is an ATX case. It's kind of designed in the gaming sense. So this case features RGB. It's mainly got RGB at the front, and there's also a RGB fan at the back as well. This has a tempered glass on it. I think it's about 4mm tempered glass, which is like a side panel. And overall, it's a very cheap case, and that's the biggest thing here. The biggest selling point is that it's cheap. It has an unconventional layout with the power supply actually being at the top, which obviously is very unusual nowadays. Usually, you would see the power supply at the bottom, obviously, and it doesn't even have like a PSU shroud either. But again, this is more sort of like for a system builder, I'd say. This is like the perfect sort of case, as it's cheap, and I'd say it looks fairly relatively easy to build in, but we'll see. Let's crack on now with the unboxing. So I've just put the overhead on now, and let's crack on. So I have actually already opened the box before. Now, you might not be able to see me here, but maybe from the overhead you'll be able to see. There we go, yeah. So first of all, we have just a normal user manual here. Turning this over, let's get this out. And so here is the front of the case, or the side of the case, should I say. Overall, sort of first impressions, I'd say, is it looks fairly stylish. So certainly for a cheap case. It has the standard sort of 4 thumb screws on the side window, which is tempered glass. That does make it look, you know, a little bit more premium, although obviously it is budget case. As I said, power supplies at the top there. You've got an RGB fan at the back. You've got your 7 slots down here for your PCI expansion cards. You've got pre-installed standoffs for the motherboard, which is really nice. The front here has the RGB strip coming down here. Kind of a little bit closed off, but we do actually have some ventilation here, if you can see that. And here too. Just a little Aerocool sign down here. Quite minimal. There isn't actually any space to front mount any front fans, unfortunately. Well, technically there is, but you have to use a Dremel or something to actually get it to actually get your fans to fit, unfortunately. But for a sort of cheap case or a cheap build, I would probably think you're not really going to need too much airflow, so I don't really see that too much of a problem. But obviously, if you're building more of a mid-range to certainly a high-end PC, this isn't really going to be the case for you, because without that front airflow, you're not going to get good cooling for your components, and you're going to get a lot of overheating. So you're not going to want to go with a mid to high range system on this. You're going to certainly look at the budget side. Let's come into the back with your power supply bracket. Well, not bracket, but where your power supply will fit will be at the top there. You have a 120mm RGB fan, which is quite nice to see on a budget case. It's RGB. Most of these are like blacked out fans. Although it might not be the best RGB fan, and I think it might only be it's unfortunately it's only Molex as well, which is a bit of a pain. But it is what it is. Like I say, it's a cheap case, so you're going to get sort of cheaper features like that. Obviously, our cutout for our I/O bracket for our motherboard and 7 PCI slots. The first one is actually removable, so you'll be able to replace that after you remove it, but the other 6 are actually non-removable and the snap-off type, so you will need blanking plates if you are going to blank those off afterwards, if you're not going to use those slots, unfortunately. But that is what it is. As we can see with the fan, there is a little bit of adjustment as well, just not very much, but there's a little bit of adjustment there, which is nice. Onto the sort of back of the case, or the back side of the case. A bit of a punch out, which is nice to see. So you'll be able to get a little bit better cable management, although generally cable management in this case is not going to be good. Actually, before we take off the side panel, we'll have a look at the top and the bottom. So the top here as you can see, it's just totally closed off there. If you can see that, yep. So there's not really anything to say about the top, unfortunately. It's just a closed off, so you won't be able to put any fans up there or anything like that. But again, this is the budget case, so again, you kind of respect that. And then obviously at the bottom as well, there's just nothing here really. I mean, there's some, there's potentially where you could fit hard drives and SSDs and what have you here to the bottom of the case, but that's pretty much about it. There's no feet, obviously, which is a really kind of a bad thing in my opinion, but you can use like a 3D printer or something and just add your own feet there, or even just buy your own feet, which they're probably only a couple of quid, I would think, off eBay just to add a couple of case feet, so that's not a big deal. Let's go to the back now. As we can see, there's a little bit of tie down points here, but at the back of the case here, I mean, there's like literally, I can't even put my finger at the back there, so really cable management is going to be a challenge with this case. You're only going to really have this cable management area here where you're going to be able to fit a little bit more bigger cables, but again, they're going to have to be fairly flat, as you've probably only got about a centimetre, I'd say, of space there for your cables, so not much, maybe that's like 10 millimeters, as I said, centimetre. Yeah, so cable management is going to be a little bit limited here, but it is what it is. It's a cheap case, and you kind of have to accept that, unfortunately. Let's move to the front now. So the front, you need to take off 4 thumb screws, which, for me personally, it's not the best design. I don't like the 4 thumb screws kind of approach at all, essentially. Approach personally, rather than having these 4 thumb screws and then the tempered glass. The tempered glass actually is pretty thick, which is quite surprising. It's quite a good bit of tempered glass, especially as it's so cheap. This case now, I've actually picked this up for, I think I've only paid about £23 for this. So I mean, that's really good value. Although it's about 35 on Amazon currently, and I think at that price it's maybe a little bit too much for me personally. But it's each to their own. I don't think personally I would pay that price for this case, but it's still a good case and still a decent case, and could still be looked at even at that price. As I said, Molex there for the fan, which is not great, but it is what it is. You have a SATA connection for the RGB at the back. This is actually the RGB at the front, so there's actually no controller or anything. It's just literally plug it into there, and then you have it at the front. We'll take a look at the top of the power buttons and what have you in a bit. So we have USB 3 connector, which is nice, although there's USB 2 as well, which is not great. And there's 2 connections. Oh no, sorry. There's one HD and one USB 2 connection. And then obviously your power and reset buttons and what have you there. Little bag of screws is not great. You're probably going to lose those pretty quickly, but it is what it is. It's a cheap case, as I said. Well, standoffs are all pre-implied. This is for the ATX format, but again, you can change it to a micro ATX format if you need to. So front I/O, power button, nice and clicky, all good. Reset, you've got LED, so that will just change the colour of the LEDs at the front here. I don't think that will change the one at the back though, unfortunately, although I'm not sure on that. Power LED and the hard drive LED, sort of standard here. Now, next is 2 USB 2 ports, which I'm not a fan of, but it's a cheap case, so I understand why they've done that. Save money, obviously. Your headphone and microphone jacks, and just your one USB 3 connector, which is enough, certainly is enough, but I would like to just see 2 USB 3s and that's it. But it's a cheap case, and that's kind of the sacrifice you have to take for a cheap case. Overall, I would say, you know, it looks fairly easy to build in overall, I'd say. There is actually, like I was saying, there is room down here for any hard drives or SSDs that you want to mount. You can actually mount SSDs. I think you can actually mount 2 SSDs at the sides there, down here. Obviously your power supply, as I said, is your standard ATX power supply. I think power supplies pretty much you can get whatever you want in there. Actually, you could probably even get like 190 or even 200mm power supply in there. So you wouldn't have any problems with power supply clearance or anything like that, which is one good thing about having it at the top there. The GPU length, if we look, so GPU length, we are looking at around, I would say about 30, but I might say could do maybe 31 or 32 centimeters, that is. Let's have a look at the CPU clearance, CPU fan, CPU cooler clearance. So yeah, it's about, I'd say it's about 17, maybe 16 or 15 centimeters. Now, I think I will be doing a build of this at one point, probably a very budget build. Again, that's in future videos which haven't really been planned yet, but we'll see what comes around. So guys, I hope you liked that little overview of this case, a little unboxing for you there. Just a little simple video here for you. If you think this is a nice case and you potentially want to buy it, then you know you can have a look at the links. I'll try and put links down into the video description if people want to visit the Amazon product page of it. And yeah, overall I think for budget builds it's probably going to be perfectly fine, but obviously anything mid-range and higher, just don't go there. But yeah, if you are liking these videos, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.